What's up, everybody? Super excited to be back with a little bit of breaking news on the Palm Dorks. Welcome, every Palm Dork among us. I'm Zach.
I'm Gavin. Welcome back to the show, guys. Quick little clip here covering some breaking news. As Zach said, mysterious billboards for Steven Spielberg's next film have been found in LA and Times Square. And these billboards say all will be disclosed. Spielberg. Still no official title for this film yet, but that's pretty exciting and really the first tease we have for this mysterious, cryptic new Steven Spielberg movie, his first film since The Fabelmans, which I quite enjoyed. And due to the very mysterious nature of this film, really all we know is that it's about UFOs. Rumored titles for the film include just the word disclosure. Another popular rumored title is The Dish, obviously both of which point to UFOs, as do these marketing images here at Times Square and apparently in LA as well. I have an actual theory, Zach. I feel like I know exactly what this fucking movie is going to be about, and no one else is really talking about it. Maybe people have already figured it out. I have a really solid theory, I think, that I want to tell you about. But what's your reaction to this? And are you as excited as I am for the return of the great Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, absolutely. When I heard about this, I was going through Joshua O'Connor's IMDb. That was how I first got exposed to this. It was months ago, but I was working on the beginnings of what would be like a rankings of Joshua O'Connor's performances in 2025, because he had like 4 leading or heavily featured supporting roles of the year. And so I was looking at, I was like, wow, this is going to be a really big year for him, and looking at his 2026, and it just said untitled Steven Spielberg Alien movie. And I was like, that is very compelling. That's a very compelling, enticing teaser, a little nugget for a film fan. You don't know too much. You just know Steven Spielberg is back, and he's back to outer space, which is one of my favorite kind of subgenres of the Steven Spielberg movie. Obviously, Close Encounters with the Third Kind, obviously extraterrestrial, E.T., but he just feels like the kind of movie director, the kind of filmmaker that you want to see tackle outer space. And do you know what big vibe I got from this promo, Gavin? Was actually a little bit of a Cloverfield vibe. I feel like we talked about it a few weeks ago, but when Cloverfield came out, they did all kinds of awesome promotion like this. They really leaned into the internet. I remember when, 12 Cloverfield Lane came out. Is it 10 Cloverfield or 12 Cloverfield?
I think it's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane came out. They brought back the Swamp Pops, which they sold when the original Cloverfield was coming out. They did all kinds of fun stuff like that. That's the energy I'm getting from this. But to be honest, I know nothing about it. Letterboxd has it listed as The Dish. I was surprised to learn from you just a moment ago that that's not the official title, that we still don't know. Yeah, what's your theory? I'm excited to hear about it.
So Steven Spielberg, obviously, for anyone that doesn't know, is a huge UFO believer. He's really into the UFO community. And in fact, he is friends with and knows Dan Farah, who's the director of the recently released documentary, The Age of Disclosure. This film, is obviously rumored to be titled Disclosure. This cryptic billboard reads, all will be disclosed. I think that what Steven Spielberg is going to do here is take classified testimony from people, whistleblowers in the UAP and UFO community. He's going to tell their stories through the lens of a science fiction blockbuster movie, but in the process, blow the lid off of everything that the government is covering up as it relates to UFOs, UAPs, and extraterrestrials. And if you watch The Age of Disclosure, the documentary, there's a lot of like hints at what's going on. People like David Grush under oath talk about the non-human biologics that have been recovered at the scenes of these crash sites with these UAPs. They talk about how the government has been trying to reverse engineer this technology, which currently defies all understandings of physics and science. So I think that Steven Spielberg, much like Dan Farah, they know what's actually going on. They have heard the actual testimony and the stories from these whistleblowers that they can't actually say on the record and to the press. So basically, as a way of getting this information out there, in addition to making what will undeniably be a spectacular science fiction film, I think that this is going to be Spielberg's, way of assisting them and kind of bringing the truth to light. I don't know if they'll straight up say this film is inspired by the testimony of whistleblowers from the UAP and UFO community, but I think it's going to be heavily hinted at, or at least, kind of implied that that's the direction we're going in here. And obviously, based on the salacious details that are hinted at in the Age of Disclosure and all the other testimony that's out there currently, I mean, it sounds like it would make for the greatest science fiction film of all time. So if he taps into that, if he goes in that direction, I think we could really be looking at something insanely special because, we're talking about Steven Spielberg, the fucking director of E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and also one of the most underrated films of the 2000s, War of the Worlds, starring Tom Cruise, one of Spielberg's best blockbuster movies, and one of the best, like, kind of post 9/11 atmospheric mood pieces. Really, sums up the vibe of the country at that time period, I would say. And again, it's just such an underrated alien movie. So I can't wait to see him get back to this genre. What do you think of that theory?
Bro, I love that. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I would have never come up with that on my own. I haven't seen Age of Disclosure yet. It's at the top of my watch list. I've been meaning to get around to it. I've heard a lot of really interesting nuggets from you. This makes me really excited. I actually haven't seen War of the Worlds. It's one of my shame posters. I've never seen this movie, but I do know that it's rumored that David Cope, the guy that wrote that movie, is also attached to this. So it makes me even more excited. Yeah. That you would bring that up. Obviously, David Cope, very successful screenwriter, has written a bunch of stuff, both good and bad, but a lot of really good stuff. So I think we could be excited about it. And, all of Hollywood, all of pop culture over the last week or so has been talking so much about a hot take that Tarantino trotted out about Paul Dano, talking about how Paul Dano is the worst actor in SAG. I thought it was pretty nonsense, but the whole podcast appearance that he did was basically boiled down to that one quote. He had another really interesting quote from the same podcast, at least I'm pretty sure it was the same podcast appearance, where he talked about how West Side Story was one of the best Steven Spielberg movies that he'd ever made and better than anything Martin Scorsese had put out in the 21st century, which I thought was overblown and hyperbolic and very Quentin Tarantino theatrics. I have to have the hottest take. But one thing I completely agreed with is that the past two films that Steven Spielberg has put out have been just as good as anything I've seen from Steven Spielberg in my lifetime. I thought The Fabelmans was great. I thought West Side Story was awesome. And I think he really has hit a late career renaissance where we could get some serious top tier Spielberg output. And I don't think people are prepared for that. There was a lull, especially through Gavin and I's teen years and early, or I guess early adolescence and that kind of thing, where Steven Spielberg was putting out kind of junk, kind of stuff like Ready Player One, not for me. War Horse, not for me. I never saw Hugo was Scorsese that did that.
Hugo was Scorsese, and that's a great movie.
So, I just mean there was for sure a time where people do what? The Post, exactly. 100%. Just dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm excited to see that Steven Spielberg is getting back to his roots, but I think general public sleep on Steven Spielberg at your own peril. He is still a 100% phenomenal industry leading filmmaker. And I think he could put out something that would be just as crowd pleasing, just as much of a discourse starter as The Odyssey if this comes out in 2026.
Bro, I think that's a hot take, but I kind of agree with what you're saying there. If this is really a spectacular return to form for Steven Spielberg and the kind of big screen, IMAX style spectacle that we hope it is, I totally agree with you. I think it actually could be approaching that level of hype and approaching that level of event status, which is so glorious because, despite what you said, I agree. For a while there, Spielberg was clearly resting on his laurels a little bit. He was kind of making some Oscar bait, The Post and Bridge of Spies, which aren't terrible movies, but for Spielberg, in that context, they are definitely at the bottom tier in his filmography. The BFG, which I never even saw, but kind of stuff like that. It seems like he has his his energy back. It seems like he's inspired again. Because as you said, West Side Story, and as Tarantino said, West Side Story was awesome, totally electric. As a lot of people said, like they couldn't believe Spielberg hadn't made a musical before, given how natural it felt for him, right? And then The Fabelmans, I thought was just such a special movie, a great inspirational kind of coming of age movie about a filmmaker. Yeah. And just so honest and deep. I really loved The Fabelmans. It's honestly probably my favorite of his late period work. But this is really the kind of Spielberg movie that cinema needs right now. Who invented the motherfucking blockbuster with Jaws back in the day? It was Steven Spielberg. And what does cinema culture and the theater industry need more than ever? It's a real spectacle, a summer movie, something that can get people out of their goddamn houses into an air-conditioned theater to sit down and watch an old-fashioned sci-fi spectacle on the big screen. I think this could totally represent that. And that's, assuming it's as good as I hope it is. Obviously, there's a chance Spielberg disappoints us. But I'm going to choose to stay optimistic about this one and hope that it's as great as I want it to be.
Yeah, and I think 2026, we were talking about how if you don't know what to see, 2025, you might not have seen all of the best stuff, right? Gavin and I, we've been loving it. I feel like it's one of the best years for movies, but you kind of have to be a film bro to get in and really soak up all the best of what 2025 had to offer. 2026, I think, might not be that way, guys. There are blockbusters coming out in 2026. And to your point, Gavin, that's exactly what cinema needs right now, because it's going to put butts in seats at the theater at a time where we really need butts in seats at the theater. I've been going to see shit that I probably would have never gone to see otherwise in theater, because I'm like, I just want to go. I'm paying for all these movie theaters, stupid monthly subscriptions now because I'm trying to support the industry. I love going to the movies. I'm desperate to keep them all in fucking business, even though it's just in my own little way. But just to read from a list really quickly, obviously we mentioned The Odyssey. That is going to be the movie of 2026 in my view, unless something dethrones it. Dune 3 is coming out in 2026. We also have Project Hail Mary, which I am the new Lord and Miller movie, which I am expecting to do numbers. We've got Spider-Man Brand New Day. The last Spider-Man movie did over $1 billion. Avengers
almost made $2 billion. It was like 1.9.
Exactly. Huge gangbusters. I didn't particularly care for it, but it was good for the movie business. Same with Avengers. I'm not an Avengers guy, Gavin and I. If you watch this show long enough, we're not haters when it comes to Marvel movies. We're not haters when it comes to the Marvel world, but it's not usually for us. Much more of a DC fan, particularly post James Gunn. So I think that's all, not for me, but I'm excited to see the Avengers and Robert Downey Jr.
Now that James Gunn is the head of DC?
Oh, no, I was
James Gunn.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I mean. Or I guess now that James Gunn is it. Yeah, I missed.
Yeah, you mean post Zack Snyder?
Post Zack Snyder,
Yeah.
Exactly. Either way, Avengers Doomsday, I think, is going to make a shitload of money with Robert Downey Jr. coming back, and that is going to be good. And then what else do we have? I mean, you've got, I think, a new Moana movie coming out in 2026. That'll be good.
The live action Moana, yeah.
Toy Story 5, Shrek 5.
Oh, damn.
I mean, there's going to be opportunities for big blockbusters to make a lot of money for the studios, which is something that they were perpetually bitching about this year.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point, Zach. And as easy as it is to be a total doomer in this moment when it comes to the future of cinema and the theatrical experience, I think you do make a really good point. That's a really strong string of event movies that people are going to see. I mean, even something like Shrek 5, which I have no interest in, mark my words, it will make $1 billion. It will make a shit ton of money. Our generation, we have so much nostalgia for that series. Obviously, same with the Toy Story franchise. So yeah, as far as just the business side of things, there's a ton to be looking forward to. And what I think is so special about this Spielberg project is that I think it could really be both a huge success at the box office and a genuinely good film, a modern day science fiction classic in the vein of Spielberg's best hits if we're lucky. So that's what's so exciting about this. Not only is it something that'll be a big hit with the masses, but I think it'll genuinely be a great film and a real reminder of the kind of quality that Spielberg can bring to the table, specifically with this genre. Because it's been a while since we've had a really good alien movie, and I totally agree with what you're saying about Cloverfield too. The marketing of this is very reminiscent of that fun rollout for the Cloverfield films. And I love stuff like that. I think movies should more often lean into the mystery rather than trying to give everything away in the trailer and spoil all the best parts of the film, only for you to then be disappointed when you actually see the movie because you've already seen all the cool stuff. I much prefer a cryptic tease like this. I'd be cool if they don't even release a single trailer for this, or maybe just like a 15-second long trailer, and everyone can just go into the theater and experience this mindfuck for whatever the hell it is. So yeah, can't wait for this one. Super excited.
Yep. Can't agree anymore. And again, I'm just looking at this slate for 2026, guys. It's so packed. It's jam packed. I gave the prestige Uber guaranteed to print money films, but there's a new Super Mario movie. That Super Mario movie did gangbusters the first time. There's a Minions 3 coming out. That's guaranteed to make money. A lot of people think the Street Fighter 2026 movie could make a lot of money. You've got Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out, which will be for a certain demographic, a very important film.
Oh, it's going to be huge, yeah.
Scream 7's coming out. Who knows how that will perform? You've got Mandalorian and Grogu coming out, which, again, I said it again, the Star Wars franchise doesn't exist to me after the Lucasfilms acquisition of Disney. I don't care about The Force Awakens. I don't care about Rogue One. I don't care about the Han Solo movie. And for the love of God, don't ever speak to me about any of the stupid fucking TV shows. But I thought it was a joke Gavin was making to me when I was bitching about the state, and he was like, oh, what, you're not excited for the Mandalorian and Grogu? I thought that was just you like taking the piss, bro. I thought that was just you out here making a joke, being like, oh yeah, they're gonna do the Mandalorian. Two characters I didn't ever really fucking hear of. I have no idea who those people are, and I thought I was pretty familiar with Star Wars. So I was like, what, who the fuck is Grogu?
Is like Baby Yoda, you know?
Oh god. I was like, who the fuck is
Mandalorian's
Grogu?
like the most popular of the Disney Plus shows. It's the kind of Boba Fett knockoff and the Baby Yoda. But either way, I mean, even that movie I don't think is going to make as much money as the Star Wars brand should be bringing in these days. I think a lot of people are kind of sick of the whole like Disney Plus style bullshit, and they don't really care about the Mandalorian anymore. But we'll see. It could definitely make a decent chunk of change.
Yeah. And then the last one that I guess I'll throw out here, because I'm curious to know how you think it'll perform in 2026. The new Chronicles of Narnia movie that Greta Gerwig's supposedly releasing, that's popping up as one of the fan favorites when I was Googling it. Do you think that, I know it's a Netflix movie, right? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah, it's a Netflix movie, and it's only going to be screened in like IMAX theaters for like 2 weeks. I think that's going to like take place over Thanksgiving, and then by Christmas it will have hit Netflix. So I'm excited for that film. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it in IMAX and seeing whatever vision Greta Gerwig has for the Narnia series, because, you know, I am a fan of that book series. I read them as a kid, but yeah, unfortunately, you know, the theatrical industry will not benefit too much from that. They will to some degree, but just IMAX essentially.
Interesting. Well, either way, still a jam-packed year. Obviously, Robert Eggers has a werewolf movie that's coming out. I don't know what kind of box office that'll do, but I'm certainly excited for that. Really excited for a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline in 2026. You've got the Bone Temple coming out 28 days later, or 28 years later, the Bone Temple. And then I just was reading today, Gavin, that 28 years later 3 is already green light to move forward because of the early reactions and positivity of the last movie that was made. Alex Garland will be writing it, and they're in negotiations for Cillian Murphy to return, but Danny Boyle will not be directing.
Interesting. Yeah, I kind of figured that he would, you know, pass the baton on to Nia Costa and let her do the third one as well, assuming she wants to. But that's pretty interesting. Either way, interesting stuff. Great to see this first cryptic tease for the All Will Be Disclosed Spielberg 06/12/26. So super excited for that. Can't wait for June. We'll keep you updated with any more information that comes out about this mysterious new project.
Yep. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is the Palm Dorks, and thanks for watching.